Take, for example, the alchemical symbolism of the unicorn. Out of fabulous antiquity has descended an account of a weird animal differing from any creature familiar to man. It was shaped like a horse, but had a cloven hoof. On its forehead grew a long, slender horn of twisted gold. The tail of the unicorn was similar to that of a lion, and its mane was of spun silver. It lived alone in remote parts of the mountains, and there was but one alive at a time. It endured for many ages, and permitted itself to be seen at certain intervals. The unicorn of European mysticism is the Qilin of the Chinese, the lion horse with the single horn, a fabled animal that announced the birth of Confucius. How does it happen that two races dwelling on opposite sides of the earth should share a belief in this mythological creature? How beautifully the story of the unicorn fulfills the purpose of the ancient priests who devised it. Medieval zoologists frequently included the unicorn as an actually existing animal, assigning as its habitation some little-known and inaccessible place, such as the Sahara Desert. The museums of Europe include in their collections several drinking goblets that belong to feudal princes, which are reported to have been shaped from the horns of unicorns. Men wanted to believe that the fable was true, therefore, to them, it was true. There was no mystery to the unicorn. It was merely a rare creature, one that found its way into the heraldry of many nations and families who bore the symbol, but never sensed the meaning. The modern world gave considerable debate to this fantastic creature. One modern school decided that the unicorn was a highly glorified rhinoceros, that the single horn peculiar to this animal had given rise to a strange story in the disordered minds of primitive people. Still, the symbolism was preserved, and the modern scientist was happy at having solved the mystery to his own satisfaction. The alchemical Book of Lambspring gives the key to the real meaning. The unicorn, with its one golden horn and living alone, is the human soul dwelling far distant in the impenetrable forest of the senses, compounded from the numerous aspects of the anima itself. This white horse with a horn is a proper symbol for the most profound meditation. There is no way to tell its story to the foolish, nor is there any way in which its mystery can be concealed from the thoughtful. No man can describe the soul in direct and simple words. It is a subjective experience. But each man may restore for himself a certain pattern of the soul by meditating upon the appearance and temperament of this strangely docile animal, described by Basil Valentine as so shy that it runs before the hunter can reach it, so wise that it can never be captured in any net devised by man. A symbol of the soul must likewise be a symbol of soul power. The golden horn, never used to injure any creature but around which the knight-errant tied the silken scarf, is the power of concentration, the one-pointedness of the soul, the harmless strength of truth. But how could this be explained to men who would prize the unicorn's horn as a wine goblet? Whoever the initiated guildsman was who first fashioned that horn into a beaker undoubtedly was acquainted with the mystery, for if there possibly could be devised a vessel to hold the mystic wine of the Feast of Cana, it would be the unicorn's horn. And so the mystery grows, each part fitting into the rest, each circumstance conveying an inference that literal words can only crucify and destroy. As the soul must be sought in the farthermost and the innermost intricacies of our lives, so truth will be found hidden in the mystery of symbols. Symbolism is the old appointed way of telling the story. The universe is the first symbol, man, the most perfect symbol, and truth, the hidden reality behind all symbols. Mystics who are said to follow the cycle of the quest based upon a search for something lost or hidden all belong to the symbolism of pilgrimage. Truth is viewed as separated from man by a strange, intangible sense of distance, a space of time or place that must be crossed. But it is a distance of becoming, a search for that which is farthest from the known, but nearest to the self. It is indeed a foolish mortal who mistakes spiritual distances for material intervals or permits himself to dream of reality in terms of place. Alchemy is devoted to the quest of three hidden truths, which are three concealments of one truth. The first of the veils is the transmutation of metals, the second the discovery of a universal medicine, and the third the creation of the elixir of conscious immortality. In an old manuscript left behind by some unknown writer of the 17th century, a mystic alchemist sounds the note of warning, "Woe, woe, woe unto the gold makers." This is the burden of all alchemical writings. The fables are told, but woe to him who accepts them as the substance of the doctrine. They are but the shadow, the substance lies beyond. To the modern truth seeker, alchemy conveys the light of another facet of the philosophical diamond. It gives further instruction in the mystery of the search for the self. But first must come the mystery of the metals. There are two kinds of metals, the earthly metals and the philosophical metals. There is a gold that is mined from the earth, and there is a philosophical gold that is mined from the air. There is a mercury which falls from the rock, and a philosophical mercury that abides as a vapor in space. There is mortal iron and immortal iron. There is a tin in the earth, and a tin in the heavens, a copper that corrodes, and a copper that is incorruptible. There is a lead that is heavy, and a lead that has no weight at all. Words can but imply the meaning, for in alchemy, as in Oriental mysticism, we are dealing with wordless principles and nameless facts. But dimly we may perceive or sense the majesty of the concept. Omar Khayyam knew the secret of the metals when he wrote, "The vine had struck a fiber, which a boutif clings my being. Let the Sufi flout of my base metal may be filed a key that shall unlock the door he howls without. The mystery of the metals is the mystery of the recognition of the twofold nature of all consciousness, all form, and all thought. When the alchemist wrote, "You shall take one part of the philosophical iron and add thereto 3 parts of the philosophical mercury, and be sure that they have been properly distilled and augmented," he was using his own quaint, picturesque terminology to convey a truly transcendental secret. Those searching for the mystery of the inner life can use in their quest only the higher and most attenuated faculties of sense and thought. The ordinary human mind is of very little service, the human emotions of very little good. We must seek within and find the spiritual powers of the mind, the spiritual powers of the heart, and the spiritual powers of the hand. In other words, we must use only the spirit of the metals. It is useless to bring only the mortal perceptions and the mortal limitations to bear upon the problems of the immortal self. Our physical experiences are not enough, they must be distilled and augmented. Our physical education is not enough, it is but a base shadow of something greater. Our thoughts, our sciences, our emotions, our arts, our actions, our crafts, are mortal and physical symbols of immortal powers. We must read all the symbols, we must seek all the shadows. This is the beginning of alchemy, that we shall discover our every word and deed to be but symbols, our hopes and aspirations only fables, our histories and traditions merely legends. All that we know, like the symbol of the unicorn, is an indication of that which lies within. The almost inconceivable reality beyond all our experience and all our knowledge is an essential subject for our meditation. It must be a very sane and gentle meditation. It must not lead off into absurdities, but lead inward toward reality. Of all the fables in all the world, we ourselves are the most fantastic. We are a creature stranger than any sphinx or chimera. The sphinx has the head of a man, the body of a lion, but what of man himself? He has the spirit of a god, the soul of a mortal, the body of an animal. He has dreams of space, the longings of the air, and the motions of the cosmos, yet he is bound down like some Gulliver chained by Lilliputians. He is, of all creatures, the most mysterious composite monster that dream ever fashioned. In the ancient temple of Serapis at Alexandria stood a gigantic image of the weeping god. His body was fashioned out of the twigs and branches of trees, his hair was grass and grain, his eyes were precious stones, his garments were made of metal, and his body was overcloaked in the skins of animals. He was crowned with the feathers of birds, flowers bloomed in his hands, and insects gathered honey from his mantle. This weeping god, upon whose headlight shone down through the open roof of the temple, is man himself, the symbol of all nature, who bears within him all questions and all answers. Thus we learn from the story of alchemy that each must gather the elixir from all the lives that make up mankind, and compound therefrom the elixir of his own life. From all the secrets that are man, shall be fashioned the secret power that shall save man. Retrospection. Retrospection is one of the best known of all philosophical disciplines, the Pythagorean exercise of retrospection. It is recorded that the members of the famous school of Cortona practiced a daily retrospection according to a formula laid down by the great master himself. Retrospection is the mental process of reliving in reverse order the incidents of the day. The purpose of retrospection is to discover the moral weight of action. The average person passing through the experiences of daily living is only partly aware of the significance of passing events. Some of the most valuable lessons go unnoticed. Failure to heed and observe, failure to discriminate and place right emphasis, and most of all, failure to be thoughtful. All these shortcomings deprive the consciousness of the experience of action. The result is that much valuable time is wasted. By means of retrospection, we may live again the incidents which have occurred. We may view them impartially. We may read our own actions as from a book. It is possible to see in greater perspective the intimate relationship between cause and effect. The practice of retrospection offers certain advantages if properly understood. But like most esoteric exercises, it has been gravely misunderstood by most of those who have attempted to use it. It is the natural purpose of the universe to keep the attention of man focused directly upon that hypothetical division of time which we call now. It is written in the scriptures, now is the accepted time, present action is the focusing of all the accomplishments and propensities of consciousness upon the problem of the moment. The now eternally is drawing out of man his resourcefulness, his courage, his integrity, and his understanding. A man working with the present problem is gaining much more of soul growth than can be achieved by dreaming of unborn tomorrows or moping over dead yesterdays. When we become very wise so that we are untroubled by memories and are unmoved by repining, we then may find profit in the contemplation of our own misdeeds. Until such time as we have gained this philosophical equilibrium, too much retrospection is likely to prove harmful. There is a certain fatalism about the past, and so little can be done to unmake or remake that which already has occurred. As we have done, we have done. We may desire heartily and sincerely to take back the hasty words we have spoken them to the air, and the winds have carried them far beyond our reach. We never can bring them back. The kindly deed we might have performed is useless now. The occasion came and went. Performed tomorrow, it will be useless. The opportunity for experience which was offered and which we overlooked has passed on to others. We cannot lure it back. All we can do is settle back in the midst of our realization of failure and disappointment, discouraged by the helplessness and hopelessness of our miserable state. This negative attitude robs us in a very subtle way of a certain vitality. Realization is not a discipline of repentance, it is a positive statement of conviction. Retrospection arises in all instances where the element of forgiveness of sin is present in a religious system. Here there is some compromise of basic integrity. If the human being believes that there is any escape from the consequences of action, the standard of living will be compromised. Thoughtfulness must come first, not afterwards. A little wisdom is more precious than an ocean of repentance. To do what is right first is to be wise, and so it is the first duty of the truth seeker to search for the right. Having performed an action according to the noblest standard of consciousness, there is no cause for regret. If a mistake has been made, universal law will reveal it through karma. There should be thoughtfulness, but not overemphasis upon the daily process of living. Often there is conflict between the larger vision and the smaller vision. I know individuals who have been possessed by regret and remorse for the greater part of a lifetime. Such persons sing their vices, but never have found their virtues. If the retrospection can be performed without any personal involvement, without any sense that the incidents are occurring to ourselves, the retrospection becomes philosophically useful. We should see not the weaknesses of ourselves, but the strength of the law. We should not see ourselves as poor mortal sinners forever wrestling with the hosts of evil like Jacob with the angel, but rather we should see law molding us eternally into the shape and purpose of its own reality. Throughout the whole world of belief, men are trying through their doctrines and their dogmas to save themselves. Through prayer and fasting, through rituals and dogmas with candles and picksides, self-centered mortals are bending to the task of saving themselves. Through self-depreciation, through self-denial, with flagellation and austerity, with gifts and offerings, the rich and the poor, the humble and the great are seeking divine favor, always for the same reason, always inspired by the same fundamental motive, self-preservation. The soul must be saved, and strangely enough, the salvation of an immortal principle is made to depend upon the ill-founded opinions of a frail and mortal part, the human personality. Men meditate to save themselves, and they practice retrospection to save themselves. Always they are thinking of the self, always plotting and planning for the self. The lay disciple, falling into one of these pitfalls of the way, comes inevitably to the dual conclusion that not only is he worth saving, but that he is in dire and constant danger of being lost. In this wild game of saving and losing, of being redeemed and then relapsing, the beauty and nobility of living, it is the purpose of realization that consciousness shall flow away from the personality toward identification with law and reality. Posit the real, not the unreal. This is not a platitude, but a great spiritual truth. This parable, which originated somewhere in Northern Asia and traveled far to be incorporated in the Christian traditions, is a statement of realization. It is applicable to the daily life of each disciple. By it we should judge others, and by the same rule we should judge ourselves. This does not mean that we should continue to cultivate old faults, but rather that we should strive to cultivate universal virtues. We should not excuse our own mistakes, but rather we should see through them and realize that they bear witness to a failure of adjustment between personal and universal understanding. We should not try to correct faults one by one, but rather with single-pointedness search for the one realization and the one truth that in itself corrects all faults. Retrospection is serviceable if through the aid of it we come closer to the one. But if we are not more aware of good because of the exercise, then the exercise is not good for us. Any discipline that makes us feel our own inferiority is as wrong as one which makes us feel our own superiority. Man is neither great nor small. He is a channel through which eternal principle is flowing. He may think he is great, and then he truly is small. He may think he is small, and then, perhaps he is great. But knowing he is a witness to a greatness that is not his own, which abides forever in the innermost and the furthermost, he is a sage established in reality. If the retrospection appears to the consciousness as a practical method of growing, it may be practiced sparingly, but it should never become a crutch or an escape mechanism, should never be thought of as a compensation for action or inaction. If practiced at all, it should be keyed to the realization of works. Through observation and attention, we should become more aware of the workings of universals through us and in us. If this is possible through retrospection, and the mind can protect itself from the processes so often associated with the discipline, then the effects can be beneficial. The traditions of alchemy refer frequently to a mysterious order of adepts. It was believed of them that they possessed a complete knowledge of the mysterious elixir of life, could travel about the world appearing and disappearing at will, communicating their secrets to such as they deemed worthy. These adepts carried with them the powder of projection, which they called the red lion. A few grains of the red lion dropped upon a molten mass of crude metal would cause its instantaneous transmutation into the finest gold. According to one account, the powder of projection could transmute 100,000 times its own weight. This same powder dissolved in wine was the philosophic elixir, the universal medicine against all corruptions of the flesh. According to von Welling, a minute particle of this red lion, if placed on the surface of water, would begin to revolve violently, passing through all the changes and periods which occur in the formation of a solar system. In the majority of cases, those alchemists who claimed to possess the powder of projection had received either the powder or the formula for its preparation from one of the nameless adepts. It is not, therefore, difficult to understand the veneration in which the Invisible Brothers were held. The great number of stories circulated describe the curious circumstances under which the adepts revealed their secrets. Undoubtedly, this is true that advanced alchemists found no knowledge of the universal mystery did wander about medieval Europe, but the accounts of the adepts, like the story of the unicorn, were philosophic fables to divide the unwary into holding false opinions regarding the alchemical operations. The adept is the self, the divine principle that manifests within the human personality, the reality behind